square method. Completing the square method under quadratic equation. So what we want to do now is we want to solve some questions using this particular method, completing the square method. So imagine you are given a question, maybe in an exam, and they ask you, they say, okay, use completing the square method to solve this particular equation. And that is what we want to do. So I want you to follow. Now, we have an equation here. The equation says 2x squared minus 7 minus 4 minus 7x minus 4 equals to 0. So this is a equation that we have 2x squared minus 7x minus 4 equal to 0. Now, the first thing, under completing the square method, the first thing you're going to do is you have to look at the coefficient of x squared. If it doesn't have, no problem. But if it's having, or if it has, so you have to divide both sides, or you have to divide through by that coefficient. Divide through by that coefficient. So when you divide through now, so what will happen is x squared minus 7x over 2 minus 2 equal to 0. So now I've been able to break this equation down to this form now. Because what I want to do is I want to really reform it to the general quadratic equation, whereby my coefficient here must be 1. So if it's having something, if your coefficient of x squared is a number greater than 1, you have to divide through by that number first. So now that we have gotten this particular one, so let us move this one. That is what we do. So we have x squared minus 7 over 2x equal to 2. When we move this one here, it turns to 2. So the next thing we are going to do is we have to divide this one by 2. 7 over 2 divided by 2. So when we divide 7 over 2 divided by 2, we will now square it and we add it to both sides. So that's 7 over 2 divided by 2. So we change this one to multiplication, we have minus 7 over 2 times 1 over 2. So what we have is minus 7 over 4. So now, when we divide this one by 2, we divide the coefficient here, the coefficient of x here. We divide it by 2, we now add it to both sides. So what I'm trying to say is divide the coefficient of x by 2 and no, let me not use and. Divide it by 2, square it, and add it to both sides. Now, what we are trying to say is the coefficient of x, which is minus 7 over 2, when you divide it by 2, whatever answer you get, you square it and you now add it to both sides. So now we have x squared minus 7 over 2x. So what we want to add now, we want to divide this one by 2 and add it to both sides. So what we have now is minus 7 over 4. And that is what we have. We squared it and we add it to both sides. You can see that I've divided it by 2. I squared it and I added it to both sides. So it will now be equal to 2 plus the same thing because we asked us to add it to both sides. So that's what we have there. So when you have a quadratic equation like this now, don't just disturb yourself. Look at the one that is having square and look at the other one that's having square. Just take one there and you see what? X, this one, minus 7 over 4, everything squared. Because when you factorize this one, and this is what you're supposed to get. So instead of you to go through that, you're going to just take one here because they're having square. Take one here and take what you have inside the bracket here and then put it together. Equal to 2 plus, so minus 7 squared, that is 49 over 4 squared is what? 16. So we can find the HCF this way, and then this one is over 1. So what we have is 16. 1 here, that's 16 times 2, that's 32. 32. And then plus 16 here, that's 49. So 32 plus 49 gives us 81 over 16. So what we have now is we have x minus 7 over 4, everything squared, equal to 81 over 16. So we take square root of both sides. square root of both sides. So this square root cancel this one. So we have x minus 7 over 4 equal to plus or minus 9 over 4. Plus or minus 9 over 4. So now we transfer this one. So at that junction now we have x equals to, when we move this one to this plus or minus 9 over 4. So we will have two answers now. So the first x, so we'll separate it now. So x will be equals to 7 over 4 plus 9 over 4, or 7 over 4 minus 9 over 4. So we're going to have two values of x. So and then what do we have? The first value, since we have 4 as the denominator, 7 plus 9 as 16. 16 divided by 4 is so we have 16 over 4, which is equals to 4. Or now 7 minus 9, that's minus 2. Minus 2, that's we have minus 2 over 4, that is equals to minus 1 over 2. So you can see that using completing the square method to solve this particular equation, what we have is x is equals to 4 or x is equals to minus 1 over 2. And when we used factorization method the other time to solve the same question, what we got is the same. So we have the same answer. So this is how to use completing the square method to solve a quadratic equation. Let's take another one and see how it goes. Thank you. All right. We have another example on the board that we're going to be solving now using completing the square method. Now, completing the square method, like I said at that time in the previous lectures, is just one of the methods that we use to solve or in solving quadratic equation. And then an example is given on the board, and we are going to be using completing the square method to solve it. And what is the question? The question says x squared minus x minus 12 equal to 0. That is what we have. Now, the first thing, like I said earlier, the first thing you're going to do is you have to look at the coefficient of x squared. The coefficient of x squared, which is equals to 1 here. So you take the coefficient of x squared and you divide through. And I said you're going to do that if the coefficient of x squared is greater than 1. But because it's 1, you're not going to do anything. So now, because it's 1, let us move on. So what we need to do is what? Move this one here. If the coefficient of x squared is greater than 1, like 2, 3, you have to divide all of them through by that 3. So what we need to do now is we take x squared minus x equals to, we take this one here, that's 12. So now, after we have gotten to this particular level now, I told us we have to come and look at the coefficient of x. Coefficient of x is the next thing. We divide it by 2 and we square it and add it to both sides. Coefficient of x here. So what is the coefficient of x here? It's minus 1, not 1, because this sign is going with this. It's minus 1. You have to be careful of the sign. So now we have x squared minus x. What is the coefficient of x here? Is minus 1 divided by 2. So we have to add it. Minus 1 divided by 2, and then they ask us to square it. Equal to 12. Add the same thing to it, plus minus 1 over 2, everything squared. So I said it the other time that now, after I have gotten to this level now, so if you factorize this particular expression very well, what you are going to get is x minus 1 over 2, everything squared. So what you need to do at this level is just look at the one that is having x here, square, and look at the other one that is having square. So just take the two of them. They have x minus 1 over 2 together. Put them inside the bracket. Equal to, solve this one, 12 plus 1 squared is 1. That's minus 1 squared is 1. Over 2 squared is what? Is 4 over 1. So let us find this LCM of the two. LCM will be 4. And then we have, how many 1 can we get in 4? That is 4. 4 times 12 is 48 plus 4 here 1. So our answer is 49 over 4. Okay. So now, after getting to this level now, we have x minus 1 over 2 everything squared equals to 49 over 4. So 49 over 4, so the next thing to do is to get rid of this square. So we have x minus 1 over 2 squared, which is equals to 49 over 4. So we square both, we take the square root of both sides. So we have this, so we have x minus 1 over 2, everything squared equals to root 49 over 4. So this square root cancel this square. We have x minus 1 over 2 equals to plus or minus, because when you are taking square root of something, plus or minus 7 over 2. And what do we need to do now? We move this one here equals to 1 over 2 because it's minus here. When it moves here, it turns to plus 7 over 2. So now we have two signs here, so we have to break it into 2. So we now say x equals to 1 over 2 plus 7 over 2, or 1 over 2 minus 7 over 2. So now 1 over 2 plus 7 over 2. So since they have the same denominator, so add this one together. That is 1 plus 7 is 8 over 2. And the answer will be 4. Or 1 minus 7, because they have the same denominator. 1 minus 7 is minus 6. So we have minus 6 over 2, which is equals to minus 3. So our answer, when we solve this particular question using complete square method, will be 4 or minus 3. So this is how to use completely the square method to solve a quadratic equation. Thank you.